Steve Magnante here at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts with a 68 Coronet RT. Let's remember that 1968 was the first year for this body style, this sort of redesigned Coke bottle. Now, Coronet RT arrived in 1967, and some would say it was Dodge's first self-aware muscle car in the Pontiac GTO idiom. And before 67, the Coronet would be available as a 500 or a deluxe with a Hemi or 383, but it wasn't really something that shouted, I'm a muscle car. But for 1967, the RT arrived. Now again, this is a 68, 1968 Dodge Coronet RT, and that means the second gen, but these were very popular cars. When new, these sold for $3,353, which seems like a bargain today, and it is. But keep in mind, that was $326 more than the Super B, which was this car's little brother. But the big difference between a Coronet RT and a Super B was under the hood. Now they both had the same domed hood, which we see here, but only the Coronet RT gave you standard 440 Magnum power. And we know it's a 440 because we see the raised bump right here, which tells us this is the raised deck 440. The 383 has a shorter, narrower deck, which does not have that bump. And again, the Super B was strictly 383 powered. Now, of course, the B and the RT could be had with the Hemi, but that was for nuclear warfare, if you will. Most were wedge powered. But this is a great example of a nicely restored Coronet RT 1968, correct air cleaner. This has been upgraded with a Wyand aluminum intake, which hides in plain sight, but that's aluminum. It's a little bit lighter, which is just fine, larger runners, and an Edelbrock 4-barrel in place of the Carter AVS air valve secondary this would have had from the factory. Again, nothing wrong with that. It does have the correct Magnum style high flow exhaust manifolds. The standard 440 and an Imperial would have a log, but these high flow manifolds are sort of halfway between a max wedge and a log, and these actually add a little bit of power. So this is 375 base horsepower, 480 foot-pounds of torque. And the beauty of the Coronet RT was that the GTO gave you 400 inches, the Mustang gave you 390 inches, or maybe a 428, but 440 cubic inches, which was 10% bigger than, you know, an SS 396 or a GTO. So Dodge really gave you a lot for your money. Now this one does have some cool options. Instead of the 11x3 front drums, this has disc brakes up front, which were no problem there. I love the Day 2 Cragar SS 15-inch wheels with modern radials, nice riding characteristics, and of course RT right here on the fender, standard stuff, and that means road and track, as in the car is just as capable on the road or the track. Now the VIN will confirm this is a true RT. We see WS23, that means RT two-door hardtop. The L means 440 Magnum. 8 means 1968. So this is no doubt about it, a Coronet RT, not a clone, not a 500 with dress-ups. This is the real thing. Now inside, this one does have some cool options. Instead of the basic bench and column shifter, this one does have the optional buckets, center console, and floor shifted 727 torque flight. Now this is a date code correct restoration, and it's all presented in the original EE1 dark blue metallic. And the best thing about these second gen Coronets is how they have these wide hips at the back, which beg for fat tires, and that's what we have right here. These are Cragar 15 by 10 inch tires, or wheels, which actually fill the wheel opening beautifully. And it's almost like the Dodge designers wanted you to put big fat tires, but they couldn't do it on the assembly line. These would have had a 14 by 6 inch wheel with skinny little tires tucked in, but this is how they were meant to be. Now, of course, being an RT, these were sold as the cars from the Dodge Scat Pack. And in fact, I'm such a Dodge guy, I have the Scat Pack Super B on my arm. I have a tattoo. That's the one tattoo on my body. And in fact, Tim Kaniska's paid for this. He's the CEO at Chrysler. Years ago at SEMA, when they relaunched the Scat Pack program, I was the spokesperson, so they gave me this tattoo. Cool stuff. But anyway, they'd say the Dodge Scat Pack, the cars with the bumblebee stripes, and there it is right there. That's not a high school addition. That is Dodge's way of telling you this car was an RT, part of the Dodge Scat Pack. Now, it's correctly presented here, the RT at the tail right there, road and track. So if you're following in an SS396, you better think twice before trying to pass this 440 Magnum powered RT. Correct exhaust tips here, which are sort of like a resonator. They have a ballooned area there, which tunes the sound of the exhaust burble, and it has the 8 3/4, which is standard stuff on a automatic 440. And it also has something specific to the RT right here. These are the super stock leaf springs, and right there you'll see 2 half leaves that sort of dead end right there. And what those do is they create a bit of a torsion or traction bar effect at the front half of the spring. And you won't see those on the passenger side. That's because Chrysler chassis engineers call this their torque-biased suspension, seen only on 440 and Hemi cars and correctly presented here. That means when the engine torques up, the right rear axle is prevented from wrapping and hopping because of these RT or Superstock type springs. So this is a very nice, correct restoration with some day 2 wheel and tire combination. And it's a beautiful example. Let's take a look inside the trunk and see how nice it shows in there. The key goes in the back, teeth up. It's a Chrysler. It there, and yeah, beautiful. Like how the wheel houses are presented correctly in body color. You know, GM has Zolatone, but Chrysler just kind of gave you the body color all the way around. These are unit construction. Beautiful trunk mat, nice solid trunk floor. Just a nice example of a 68 Coronet RT. And these actually outsold the Super Bee in 1968, almost 2 to 1. So even though these are more expensive by about $340, more people bought Coronet RTs to get that 440 than they did Super Bees, which had the 383. So that's the story of this one. Now this car can be purchased with as little as 10% down. And just because High-Octane Classics is located in Auburn, Mass. doesn't mean you have to be in Massachusetts. They'll happily ship this car to you wherever you might be on the planet. And they do accept trades, late models, customs, hot rods, bikes, whatever you have, they'll consider it for possible trade. And keep in mind, High-Octane Classics has been in business for about 15 years and probably will be for another 15. And they're always looking to purchase new cars for inventory, whether 1 or 20. If you have cars to sell, give them a call. And if you're thinking about a career change, High-Octane Classics is always looking for qualified sales and service technicians, either seasoned veterans or beginners with a strong work ethic. You can give them a call at 508-859-4515. And to learn more about this 68 Coronet RT, the real thing, WS23L, not a clone, check it out on the High-Octane Classics website.